Hello, my name is Keith, and these are my stamps. Today, episode 40, Belize. Belize is in Central America, and the meaning of the name is disputed. The most commonly accepted derivation is from the Mayan Bel Itza, meaning the way to Itza. Belize is bordered by Mexico, Guatemala, and the Caribbean Sea. And on this map, if you look carefully, you'll see Belize City marked, which is not the capital, it's the largest city. The capital is Belmopan, which is marked on this map. I thought it was rare for a country to have a capital city that was not its largest city, but I looked it up and apparently there are 38 countries that have this, so not that unusual. Belmopan was a planned community after a hurricane in 1961 badly damaged Belize City, which was the capital at the time. And so they decided to move the capital inland to a safer area. The name comes from two rivers, the Belize River and the Mopan River, and the government was moved to Belmopan in 1970. The official language of Belize is English, but there are many other languages spoken. It's 22,966 square kilometers, 8,867 square miles, which is a little larger than Wales, or roughly the same as New Jersey. The population, 397,500, which is similar to Wichita in Kansas or Leicester in the UK. There'll be more history of this area in the British Honduras episode in a couple of weeks' time. Well, more than a few weeks, months' time. But the pertinent parts that relate to Belize, when the Spanish rule in Central America collapsed in the 1830s, Guatemala claimed most of Belize's territory, but a treaty in 1859 led to Guatemala recognizing Belize's borders as they are now. However, part of the treaty stipulated that a road would be built between Belize City and Guatemala, although the treaty never said who would build it, who would pay for it, any of those kinds of things. However, Guatemala has used the fact that the road was never built to say that the treaty was void and that their claim should stand. And several times over the years, Guatemala has massed troops on the border, this disputed border in their eyes, with both Britain and Belize responding. Eventually, both Britain and Belize got fed up with Guatemala's kind of militaristic posturing, and they both pushed for Belizean independence via the United Nations, reasoning that it would be harder for Guatemala to get part of an independent Belize as opposed to a Belize that was under UK control. That wasn't as easy as it first may have appeared. Several countries abstained, including the US, who were not that keen on an independent Belize, who they saw allying with the UK. But after several votes, Belize was finally granted independence. The UN also called on Britain to continue its defence of Belize despite the independence. 4 days after granting independence, Belize was admitted to the United Nations with only one vote against from Guatemala. Finally, that was all in 1980, 1981. Finally, in 1992, Guatemala recognised Belize and British troops left in 1994. But Guatemala has renewed its claims to the territory, which is about half of present day Belize. And in 2019, the dispute was taken by both sides to the International Court of Justice, where oral arguments began in November of last year. It seems highly likely that the International Court of Justice will side with Belize, as Guatemala ratified the original treaty and implemented it for over 80 years before they started to protest. Guatemala has never controlled, occupied any of that territory that they're claiming. And also, virtually every single independent nation that there is has recognized Belize as an independent country as it is. So, the stamp issuing history started issuing stamps with the name Belize in 1973, even though the independence wasn't gained, as I said, until 1981. And the currency 100 cents to one Belizean dollar. This is the earliest stamp I have inscribed Belize. It was originally issued in 1971, inscribed British Honduras, which you can just about make out underneath that silver bar there. It was overprinted with Belize and those two suns and issued in 1973. It shows a Mozambique tilapia fish, which, surprise, surprise, comes from southern Africa. However, it has spread throughout the world, including off the coasts of Belize. And it has a rather clever trick. Apparently, the females can tell the males apart based on their urine. This is a pink checked cattle heart butterfly, native to the Americas from 1974 series Butterflies of Belize. And you'll notice in the top right, the Queen's bust there. And on this one, top right, you'll notice the monogram of the Queen. This is from Christmas of 1975. Of course, Belize still under UK control at this time and not an independent country. Omnibus edition from 1978, there were 21 postal administrations that released stamps like this. A stamp from, as you can see, 1979, and you can see the reason. It shows a Fairchild monoplane. A couple of sets linked to the Winter Olympics in Lake Placid from 1979 on the left and 1980 on the right. The set on the right having the gold medal winners. This issue for the International Year of the Child was released between those two Olympic ones in early 1980. And in my collection of Belize, it marks the start of a few sets that, to be honest, I'm not that keen on. There's another one, also from 1980 for Christmas. I find it hard to explain why. The pictures look a bit fake, forced. I don't know. It's just not my cup of tea. This one was for the royal wedding in 1981. After independence, which was coming up in 1981, there wasn't a rule in Belize to remove the Queen's monogram or the head of the monarch or anything like that, and they continued to appear now and again through the stamp issues till, as far as I could see, 1987, 1988, that kind of time. And also, Belize has continued to voluntarily issue stamps linked to royal events. Another one linked to the Olympics, these for the history of the Olympics from 1981. And again, another set that I think fits with the Christmas one and the International Year of the Child. This one, however, does not. It actually links to Belize, unlike those other sets that I just mentioned. These are to celebrate independence and were issued in early 1982, showing the flag of Belize and the map. And it's the lower three parts of the map that Guatemala is claiming. Back to kind of generic, could be from anywhere stamps. Both of these from 1982, the one on the bottom left for the 125th birth anniversary of Baden-Powell, and those five at the top for the World Cup in Spain. Then from the mid-80s onward, the subjects of the stamps became far more localized and far more linked to Belize. These are from the 1984 set of Marine Life from the Belize Coral Reef. And again, you'll notice the Queen's Head, even though it's 3 years after independence. The top right stamp shows a flower coral, which is a nocturnal feeder and critically endangered. In 1995, this bug is, as you can see, giant water bug, and it can grow up to 9 centimeters. That's 3.5 inches long. They are rare. They eat small fish, tadpoles, those kinds of things. They can bite humans if you put your hand in the wrong place, and they inject a digestive saliva. For the 20th anniversary of independence in 2001, this was one of 4 stamps released. This shows shrimp farming. UK is still, to this day, the biggest market for Belizean exports, and fish, seafood, is the second largest earner. And the most recent I have from Belize is this one from 2005, the Ecological and Cultural Heritage Set. So these are my stamps from Belize. My name is Keith. Goodbye.